Good afternoon. My name is Elaine Morales. I'm a design associate at Building Community Workshop. We are a nonprofit community design center based in Texas, and we work to reach out to those residents not typically served by the design and planning community. Today, I want to share with you RAPIDO, a rapid recovery housing pilot program. RAPIDO is a new holistic approach that enables communities to recover from disaster within months instead of years. We had the opportunity of working and testing this rapid approach in areas affected by Hurricane Dolly back in 2008. 6.5 years passed, and low-income families were still living in homes damaged by flood and strong winds. It's been proven that it takes too long to bounce back from a natural disaster with the existing model, a model that doesn't respond to the long-term housing needs of the residents. RAPIDO has redesigned this system in a way that it doesn't interfere with families getting back home as soon as possible. So how did we do it? RAPIDO approaches recovery from a temporary to permanent solution. It provides immediate housing and invests in the first step towards a permanent home. We built and designed 20 prototype homes in the Rio Grande Valley as a way to test this scalable system, which best case scenario will get families back home within 4 to 6 months instead of 6 years. This scalable system is possible with the core. The core bridges the gap between relief and recovery housing. Typically, manufactured emergency housing is disposed after the emergency or when the family is ready to move on. The core, on the contrary, has been designed for durability and expansion, reducing material and financial waste associated with emergency housing. The core has been designed for simplicity. Simplicity in its compact size, but containing only essential living facilities. In its capacity of expansion, by removing only one of the green wall panels, by concentrating plumbing in one wet wall panel, and easing electric and wiring with a chase in the perimeter of the box. The core is also simple to build. It's built locally out of prefab panels in a local lumberyard in 3 days. Its flat pack design enables contractors to deploy it to the property and assemble it in 4 days. When a disaster hits, a family in need will participate in a one-on-one design process. And right away, a core temporary unit will be placed in their property. When resources are available, the core is expanded into a permanent home that can better fit each family's needs and preferences. We recognize that disaster recovery housing is not only about design and construction. It's also about community outreach, eligibility, case management, and it's a policy issue. That's why we partner with a group of experts, local stakeholders, and community organizers, and designed a comprehensive system that can empower local teams to better prepare, respond, and recover from a natural disaster in all these key areas. The RAPIDO model starts recovery activities prior to the disaster. We call it pre-recovery. Pre-recovery means pre-design, to increase the variety and quality of home designs available after a disaster. Pre-procurement, to ensure that recovery activities start at the earliest. And preparedness and training, to build reliable teams that can support local jurisdictions and assist families through the recovery phase. If we invest in recovery, communities will be better prepared to recover. RAPIDO was designed to foster resilience within Texas communities and abate the social and economic impacts of disaster. With RAPIDO, families will make choices, the economies will be reinforced, and communities, instead of disrupted, will be strengthened. Our main outcome was to provide choice into disaster recovery housing, but we want to create a greater impact. That's why we are engaging decision makers like the Secretary of HUD, Julian Castro.
And thank you.
And, okay, maybe we can. Thank you.
Nella, since you had a short question last time, would you like to start it off?
Sure. I know you probably want me to ask you what you were about to say, but I actually have this burning question. So you said you've done 20 prototypes?
Yes.
I want to know what you've learned.
Okay, so we actually built 21. We had a prototype 0. We wanted to test it before we actually worked with the families, so to see if it actually worked or not. We have learned a lot. We faced many challenges, especially what I was about to say is that we submitted policy and technical recommendations to the state with the hope that the program is adopted statewide. In that policy recommendations, we submitted a step-by-step guide on how to overcome these challenges from the federal, state, and local level. The main challenge is at the federal level. The recovery funds doesn't come to the local teams until 18 months after. So in those 18 months, FEMA is placing temporary units, and actually temporary units to be placed cost more or less from 65 to 115,000, while to build a whole house in the Rio Grande Valley costs 75,000. So what we wanted to do was to bridge this gap between relief and recovery and have FEMA and HUD talk to each other and implement those funds together, so those funds that are implemented in the temporary unit can start the permanent home right away.
With the 20 buildings that you've done, have people added on to them?
Oh, we actually finished the whole permanent home. One of the challenges that we faced is that we couldn't get any of the families to live in the small prototype. Families were living in the bigger. So we basically built and placed each unit in 1 week and then built the rest in 2 months. So the family went in after the whole permanent home is designed. But we have families asking like if they can apply for more. So we are waiting for local implementation.
The solutions, the homes themselves, specific to Texas and the local conditions and environment, or is there any opportunity? Is it Gulf Coast or anything beyond the current geographic focus?
So we designed this, what we call the disaster recovery housing program, with the hope that it's specific but flexible enough that can be applied statewide or even nationally. Our main concept is that it can be adapted from the local team. So before any implementation, you need to go and pre-design and pre-procure, so each local jurisdiction adapt the plan to their local and context. So it's appropriate, and being appropriate can be sustainable.
How does the ownership of the housing units and the land work? So the new housing prototypes designed for the families are owned by the family, and what about the parcels of land that the house is set on?
So it was, for these 20 prototypes, it was a requirement. They had to own the land. The idea was that these families wouldn't be displaced from the neighborhood. So it's not group sites, it's actually getting back home to your property. So that was a requirement. And the ownership, it was CDBG funds, Community Block Grant, Disaster Block Grant funds. So it was free for the families.
Yeah, I have a question related to Nella. So not just about learning, but can you share one unexpected outcome, anything that surprised you?
I guess that's something that surprised me was more the reaction of the families of having choice. When we started the design process, we met with them at least twice to design this new home to be custom designed, and they thought they were going to get a cookie cutter design as other families are getting in the valley. And when they realized that they were actually designing their home with us, the gratitude of the families was just very impressive.
Excellent. Thank you.